This is CGTN, China Global Television Network.
With round about 24 hours to go to the African Nations Championship final in Cameroon, the football leadership intrigues off the pitch are taking shape with each passing day. The lineups for the CAF presidential elections continue to shape up, with the ousted head cleared to throw his hat in the ring. On Sports Scene tonight, we profile the candidates, including an exclusive with August Senghor, and look ahead to tomorrow's final. And a very warm welcome to you wherever you're joining us. This is Sports Scene, your home of African sports news, views and interviews from across the African continent. I'm Mahia Mutua. Also coming up, Ahmad returns to the helm of CAF and is now cleared to defend his seat by the organization. Welcome to the program. Now, the Confederation of African Football presidency candidate Patrice Motsepe has been given the green light by CAF and FIFA to contest the much-anticipated election next month. The wealthy businessman is targeting the top job and is eager to make a change to the game on the continent as we know it. CGTN's CS Duplessis gets us underway.
Patrice Motsepe is a name synonymous with success. The South African billionaire is one of the richest men in the world, and it appears that everything he touches turns into gold. Just take the club he bought in 2003 as an example.
Patrice is a wealthy man, as everybody knows. I think also individually he's an organized person. He's a passionate, he loves football. I think that job, despite all the other things, you need somebody who's passionate about the game. I remember some years back when he took Sundowns from the Ebgrog, he said at that time, which is more than almost 20 years ago, that he wants to turn Sundowns into one of the best teams on the continent, and he has managed to achieve that.
The 59-year-old is a lawyer by trade and brings business pedigree to the rest of the candidates, who all lean on their administrative backgrounds.
He's obviously left a huge footprint on the continent through Sundowns, Mamelodi Sundowns, and what Peter Mosimane and the team have been able to achieve. But he's not only riding on that particular ticket, on that sort of background. He's got huge financial backing, and it bodes well for South Africa should he get voted in.
The impact that Motsepe has had on South African football is enormous, but his ambitions clearly lie on making a global impact.
The CAF president also becomes the FIFA vice president, so you've got a global reach now, not just a reach within your own country and within the confines of your own continent. So I think that's his motivation. He's trying to make a huge impact on the game, and a new broom sweeps clean, and maybe that's what CAF needs, someone from outside the organization coming in and making a real difference.
CAF is an organization in need of new direction, and the man who has donated large sums of his personal wealth to charity could well be the person to bring about that change.
With him in the picture, it also talks to, is it time to move away from the normal FA presidents and get for someone who's going to take CAF on a different trajectory altogether in terms of how to reshape and how to come with a different CAF to run African football. Because, to be honest, there are a lot of things which have not been done right.
There is no doubt that whoever lands in the Cairo hot seat has their work cut out for them. Many problems plague the organization that has left a lot to be desired in the past 4 years. For one, a new broadcast solution is required, and that is just the starting point for African football, which is in desperate need of a leader who will not only reinvigorate CAF, but also put the needs of the organization above that of any individual. CS Duplessis, CGTN, Soweto.
Well, the CAF elections are slightly over a month away, and prospective candidates for the position of president are gunning for the top seat. One of the contenders, Augustin Senghor, the president of the Senegalese Football Federation, has vowed to clean up the image of CAF if he wins the election scheduled for the 12th of March in Morocco. Senghor has been speaking to CGTN's Sadiq Shaban in Cameroon.
Mr. Senghor, why are you running for the position of CAF president?
the problem of our president Ahmad with FIFA, the ethics committee deciding to put action against him, and other kind of situation we are living now. Until the situation we are living with our Commission of Governance, you saw many problems we were living. But also in the marketing matter that we breached the contract with Lagardère, and since this moment we don't have today marketing agent. We don't have resources to develop football. Nowadays also, our financial situation is very bad, and that's why I think that CAF is living his most difficult moment in its history.
Mr. Augustine Senghor, what new ideas do you bring on the table to CAF if you convince the delegates to elect you as the next CAF president in the elections that are going to be held in Morocco in March?
The first step for me, it will be to change our text. I think it is of utmost importance for me. Second, reorganizing our structures. It is executive committee, it is administration with a very strong general secretary department, and also putting a new way of ruling and working for our administration and our governing bodies. It is what we call ethical aspect, give to CAF manual of procedure, which will allow to avoid all these crises and problem we are living regarding the ethical situation. Putting in place a new governance, because it is at this level we have difficulties.
And Mr. Senghor, the problem with CAF at the moment, many people did not like the arrangement that was there between FIFA and CAF that saw the Secretary General come to CAF for about 8 months, about a year, to run the organization on behalf of CAF. What will you do about the relationship between CAF and FIFA if you get elected as the next president of the Confederation of African Football?
When I will be president, I will continue to work very closely with FIFA, but in mutual respect between CAF and FIFA, because it is what the rules of FIFA, the statutes of FIFA and the statutes of CAF decided, but also it is what is necessary for Africa to develop itself with the project the African want for their football. Ahmad could not change CAF because our legal organization is very bad. The text as the statutes and rules governing CAF are up to date. We have to change it.
Mr. Augustine Senghor, the president of Senegalese Football Federation and a contender for the presidential elections at the CAF, thank you very much indeed, sir, for speaking to CGTN.
Well, the race for the CAF presidency is heating up as FIFA, as of Friday, had approved 4 candidates for the elections in March. CGTN's Mohamed Abubakar gives us a look at the profiles of those that will make the ballot.
As the Confederation of African Football concludes the CHAN 2020 tournament in Cameroon, attention will now turn to the race for the top seat of Africa's football governing body. FIFA has cleared all 4 candidates running for the CAF presidency, with elections set for 12th of March in Rabat. Let's take a quick look at who these candidates are. Augustine Senghor, a lawyer and politician, has been president of the Senegalese Federation for 11 years. He is also the mayor of Gorée, an island town adjacent to Dakar, the capital of Senegal. Jacques Anoma is the former president of the Ivorian Football Federation. He is credited for engineering the rejuvenation of the Elephants, who participated in their first World Cup in 2010 and 2014. Ahmed Yahya, a businessman, heads the Mauritanian Federation since 2011. Under his presidency, the country participated in its first African Cup of Nations in 2019 under the leadership of coach Corentin Martins. Lastly, Patrice Motsepe, a businessman as well, who made his fortune from mining. He is the president of Mamelodi Sundowns, the Pretoria Township club that won the African Champions League in 2016. Despite Ahmad's reinstatement as CAF president, his participation in the elections is dependent solely on whether he succeeds in overturning the November decision of the FIFA Ethics Committee to ban him from football for 5 years, having been found to have breached several of FIFA's ethics codes. Each of the 54 African federations will have one vote in a multi-round majority vote, and one will only need a simple majority of at least 28 votes to win. Mohamed Abubakar, CGTN.
And of course, Ahmad has been cleared to run. We will be telling you more about that in the second part of the show, also coming up after this short break. Both finalists of the African Nation Championships confirmed with final set for Sunday.
How would you create your legend? On the fields, on the tracks, in the arenas of Africa. Were you born to be a player? Could this moment be yours? Sports Scene. Find your game.
Welcome back. Now, African football officials say hosting the 16-team African Nations Championship is important in attempting to reclaim normalcy after a devastating year for the sport. At the ongoing competition in Cameroon, teams and fans have not been spared the blow of the virus. A CGTN Sadiq Shaban now reports from Cameroon.
There's been a lot of conversation and discussion about hosting the delayed 2020 African Nation Championship in the midst of a global outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic around the world. The DR Congo team is one of the teams in this competition that has been hardest hit by the virus. More than 15 players and officials of the DR Congo team spent days in isolation and treatment over a period of 3 weeks after they tested positive for COVID-19. At one point, CAF intervened after fears that the DR Congo team wanted to withdraw from the tournament over testing controversy.
I don't want to talk about the politics of testing of COVID. My players and I have recently recovered from the virus, but as you know, we are perhaps the most tested team in the competition because of the challenges we have had.
Football fans were allowed access into the match venues. Organizers sold only 30% of stadium capacity and tickets were quickly snapped up. Inside the stadium, regular disinfection was carried out before matches.
In Cameroon, football is like opium. Football is a religion. Football is the people's daily living. So when you have a competition in Cameroon and you don't have the people in the stadium, they are sick. The COVID has spoiled the chant.
CAF had published extensive regulation targeting crowd control and fans' welfare before the tournament. Health officials conducted temperature screening ahead of mostly evening matches.
As a DR Congo fan, I think that they used the COVID-19 to eliminate our team. Why was it that only our players tested positive every time? And why different numbers all the time? The efficiency of the testing is questionable.
It is not easy, but there is medical aspect of COVID-19 and there is mental aspect of COVID-19. So in mental aspect, we are helping with playing this tournament to give people hope that life could eventually in the future return back to normal.
For those who attended the match, this was the mood inside the facility.
We are happy that the President of the Republic has made it possible for this competition to finally come to Cameroon. We are happy and jovial to see the game return to Cameroon and to celebrate together.
Meanwhile, protocol officials took no chances with the members of the media after several cases of COVID-19 were reported at the tournament. They threw a ring round the teams and employed orderlies to enforce social distancing between the press and the players. The Confederation of African Football says the 2020 African Nation Championship in Cameroon will provide a platform for further discussion as football around Africa and around the world continues to recover from the outbreak of COVID-19. Sadiq Shaban, CGTN, at the Japoma Stadium in Douala, Cameroon.
So looking ahead, Mali and Morocco are set to play the title decider at the Stade Ahmadou Ahidjo in Yaoundé. Both teams took varying routes to get to Sunday's final. Mali played out a barren draw against Guinea before going on to win 5-4 on penalties. This is the West African side's fourth appearance at the CHAN tournament and the second time they are featuring in the finals after reaching the same in 2016. Meanwhile, the defending champions thrashed the hosts Cameroon 4-0 in the semi-finals to book their place in the final. That match in Limbe saw the Atlas Lions through to take another chance at the title they first won in 2014. Well, for more on the CHAN tournament and the upcoming CAF presidential elections, we're joined by CGTN Sadiq Shaban, who is in Cameroon for the duration of the tournament. Sadiq, the latest we're hearing is that Ahmad has indeed been cleared to run for the presidential elections. What more can you tell us about that now?
Maya, that's right. The CAF Governance Review Committee sat down this morning here in Yaoundé, Cameroon. And Ahmad, in fact, was part of that meeting. And CAF says Ahmad is now cleared to return to campaign for CAF president based on the ruling, or rather the advisory by the Court for Arbitration of Sport, which lifted the sanction that had been placed on Ahmad by FIFA. So CAF says their hands are tied. They cannot stop Mr. Ahmad from resuming his duties as CAF president. And since he had declared his intention to run for president, then they also have no option but to allow Mr. Ahmad a clear runway to resume his duties as CAF president and also, importantly, to continue, or rather to start his campaigns as, CAF president. Now, this news has not been received well by some of the competitors and some others who are saying CAF is now rehabilitating Ahmad, but they are saying they are taking solace in the fact that this battle is not yet over. The Court of Arbitration of Sport will pronounce itself on March 2nd, just 10 days before the election, on the appeal filed by Ahmad, and also FIFA will have the final say about who runs for the office of CAF. So this is just the beginning. It is not the end of this process.
And Sadiq, talking about the football, the CHAN final begins in just about 24 hours. You're on location at the venue. What has the mood been like on the return of competitive national team football?
Maya, behind me at the Ahidjo Stadium, every officer, every official involved in the finals on Sunday is going through their paces. Security is sweeping this place to make sure that nothing, is left to chance. We're just minutes away from the third and fourth play of March, which will be played in Limbe, just about 200 kilometers from here. That match will pit host Cameroon against Guinea. So we have a little issue of the third and fourth play of March before the big one on Sunday, where holders Morocco and the people really that hosted this tournament in 2018 will be looking to join DR Congo as two-time winners of this competition. Mali say they need something to take back to Bamako, a happy moment, and they have come so close before, but they haven't lifted the trophy. So they say this is their moment on Sunday.
And finally, the CHAN is the first national team competition to be held on the continent during this pandemic. Briefly, Sadiq, what have been the protocols put in place to ensure the competition has gone ahead without hitches?
Maya, it's been unprecedented to host this competition at this time. We have seen a lot of screening of fans. Tickets have been sold at 30% of stadia capacity. We have seen hand-washing points in some of the stadia, but we haven't seen social distancing, which is not really possible at this point in time. And CAF says football has to continue. Life has to continue post-COVID-19. They are saying football competition is going on in Europe. Football competition is going on in Asia and other parts of Africa and other part of the world. So Africa cannot be left behind. But Mahia, the full scale or the full impact of hosting this tournament at this time will not be known until months after this competition has ended.
All right, Sadiq, thank you very much for that. CGTN Sadiq Shaban joining us live there from Yaoundé ahead of the CHAN finals tomorrow. Moving on, East Africa was a region well represented at the African Nations Championship in Cameroon this year, with Tanzania, Uganda and Rwanda all qualifying for the showpiece. CGTN's Mohamed Abubakar caught up with one of Kenya's most successful coaches, Mohamed Kheri, in Mombasa to get his thoughts on the profile of football in the region and why Kenya is losing ground in catching up with the rest.
I'm delighted to be in the company of former Kenya national football team head coach Mohamed Kheri. Thank you so much, Coach, for giving us your time.
Thank you.
Let's begin with the ongoing African Nations Championships, where we have 3 East African countries that have qualified for this competition: Tanzania, Uganda and Rwanda. However, Kenya is yet to qualify for this tournament. Do you feel the country is losing its footballing dominance in East Africa?
To be completely honest, CHAN is a tournament that I expect Kenya to qualify for. In the history of East African football, Kenya was the first nation to qualify for the Africa Cup of Nations. The fact that we are now struggling to qualify for a second-tier tournament really baffles me. I put this down to 2 things. 1 is the never-ending wrangles with our federation, and 2, lack of proper structures, especially with talent development. You look at Tanzania, Uganda and Rwanda. They have steady youth development programs, but we don't. So it's not shocking to me that Tanzania, Uganda and Rwanda have surpassed Kenya. And if it continues like this, even Burundi will. Poor leadership is what is bringing our national team down. Let's just all decide to start from scratch and build our team systematically. Invest our time and money on the youth teams. Look at our neighbors Uganda. They started this 10 years ago, and now they are reaping the fruits.
Coach, you are a footballing great in Kenya, but here in the Coast Province, you're an icon. Do you feel this region has more to offer in terms of footballing talent in the country and in the continent as well?
Here at the coast, we also have to do the same. Start from the grassroots. Because Kenya will never thrive without players from this region. I remember in the past, midfield players for the national team used to come from the coast region. Currently, I think the team just has 2 players from here, compared to yesteryears, where we used to have up to 9 players from the coast making the national team. But with proper systems in place, even at the county level here in Mombasa, we can nurture the talent here. Football is a well-paying profession, and we are naturally talented. It's just unfortunate that all this talent is still asleep.
You've been a coach for the national team in 3 separate stints across 4 decades. Why do you feel Kenya is yet to live up to its potential?
It's true. I've been a coach for 4 decades, and in my time, players used to play with so much heart and pride. To wear the national team colors was a huge source of pride. Whether there was money or not, when we saw the national flag in front of us while we were away from home, we were ready to die than let that flag down. Another thing is the lack of proper preparations. It's costing our team so many great opportunities. We always wait until the last minute, relying on government money to prepare for national team camps, for important qualifiers or even tournaments. So early preparations is what will help us reach far. Without this, we will continue watching our neighbors achieve big things.
And going back to the CAF presidential elections, CAF has had its fair share of issues since Ahmad Ahmad rose to be president. The issues culminated with a ban of the Malagasy man by FIFA. However, the Court of Arbitration for Sport has now frozen the ban. And now Ahmad is back at the helm of the organization, awaiting his case to be determined. Here is CGTN's Adel Mahroui with more.
For the coming month, Ahmad Ahmad will be resuming his role as CAF's president. That's until the Court of Arbitration for Sports holds his corruption hearing on the 2nd of March.
He doesn't have long left in his term. Still, his return creates confusion. No one expected to see him back. It never happened before to have someone accused of corruption accusations then return so fast. CAF has already reorganized to itself again after he left. It will redo that again.
FIFA convicted Ahmad, suspended him for 5 years and fined him 200,000 Swiss francs. How come he returns to be CAF's president again and is not proven innocent yet?
FIFA's educatory chamber has earlier said that Ahmad was breaching his duty of loyalty, offering and accepting gifts or benefits, abusing his position and misappropriation of funds. He filed an appeal at CAS against FIFA's Ethics Committee's conviction. Analysts believe the controversial CAF president is eyeing more than his reinstatement.
All that Ahmad is doing is not just getting back to CAF for a few weeks. These efforts show that he's looking at the election. He's paving the way and setting expectations that he could return to the election.
Before FIFA convicted him, Ahmad announced that he's running for a second term as CAF president. Back then, he claimed he has dozens of African associations supporting him.
Patrice Motsepe has the highest chances among the current 4 candidates. Ahmed's return shakes the election process. If he manages to get a verdict from CAS to join the election, he could actually win. He has stronger connections in Africa.
The Court of Arbitration for Sport is basically saying that Ahmad Ahmad is neither innocent nor guilty. The court has the power to clear his name and probably force him back to CAF's presidential election or confirm FIFA's accusations. With less than 2 weeks between the hearing and the CAF elections, African football politics have never been that confused. Adel Mahroui, CGTN, Cairo.
And that's all we have for you on this week's edition of Match on Sports Scene. Thank you very much for watching. Do remember you can send your feedback to the contacts on your screen and follow us on our digital media platforms. I'm Mahia Mutua from myself and everyone here. See you again same time next week.